Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a genuinely fascinating blueprint for a totally new, regenerative economic ecosystem. We're talking about the EdensBay Vision. It's a proposed framework designed to shift us completely away from those old, extractive corporate models and move us toward a structure built entirely on shared prosperity and community empowerment. If you've ever wondered how local capital could actually stay local to fund regeneration instead of just being siphoned away, well, you're going to find this incredibly interesting.
Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with the problem of extraction, introduce the prosperism alternative, break down the dual trust system and the allied coin engine, see how members actually direct the capital, and then we'll wrap up with the call for leaders. Let's just dive right in.
Section 1. The problem with extraction.
To understand the fix, we first have to understand the fundamental flaw in our current financial reality. Think of the traditional economic model kind of like a giant dam. You have this massive inflow of consumer spending coming in at the top. But the structure itself, the extractive corporation, actually separates ownership from responsibility. It literally acts as a barrier. So what happens? The wealth and capital are just siphoned right off through these metaphorical pipes straight to disconnected billionaire owners and shareholders. Meanwhile, the local communities and the workers at the bottom, the very people actually generating the value, they're left with a tiny trickle. The wealth just completely leaves the community.
So look at the contrast between that old model and the proposed EdensBay constellation. In the old extractive model, your role is, well, you're just a monetized consumer. You buy things and the capital flows outward as shareholder dividends, making the company constantly vulnerable to hostile corporate takeovers. EdensBay proposes a total inversion of this. Instead of just being a consumer, you become a lifetime member beneficiary. Instead of your capital being siphoned outward, it's circulated inward through community capital trusts.
Moving on to Section 2. The alternative, prosperitism.
The architects of this blueprint call their alternative prosperism. Listen to that word carefully, broken down into 3 distinct syllables. Prosperism. Prosperism. It's defined as a living economic system designed specifically for continuity, contribution, and shared prosperity. This isn't about some rapid speculative growth so you can eventually sell out to the highest bidder. No way. Prosperism is an intentional design meant to hold value in trust for generations, completely shielding it from predatory corporate buyouts.
So, structurally, how do they actually pull that off? Well, EdensBay is organized as an employee-owned community capital trust company. By centering the whole model around labor and creativity, where the people who actually make the marketplace run are the primary beneficiaries of its success, the legal framework ensures the enterprise remains strictly accountable to the people. Because it's held in trust, it literally can never be subjected to a hostile takeover.
All right, Section 3, the dual trust system. Let's trace how the money actually flows here. It all kicks off with this exact amount, $35. This is the monthly membership contribution. You can think of this as the recurring fuel or the catalyst for the entire ecosystem. This totally accessible monthly amount is what unlocks a member's active participation and, this is absolutely crucial, their voting rights within the system. For roughly the cost of maybe a couple of streaming subscriptions, you become a fully active participant. Now, remember that dam metaphor from earlier where everything gets siphoned away? This is the exact opposite. When a member contributes their $35, it doesn't just go to some corporate bottom line to enrich a distant shareholder. Instead, that stream routes directly into dedicated trust reservoirs. It splits into an upper branch and a lower branch. Let's look at exactly where those go. The upper branch takes 25% of your contribution and flows it into what is called the steward's trust. This is basically the practical, operational side of things. It's meticulously divided up to ensure the marketplace operates securely, entirely debt-free, and stays purely functional across generations. It pays off the initial launch loans, it funds the administration, and it sustains the trustees who guard the charter. Essentially, it keeps the lights on and keeps the whole system secure. But the real magic is what happens to the remaining 75%. That flows into the lower branch, the mother trust. The designers affectionately call these massive community capital reservoirs Vanderpools. This is the real economic power of the community, pooled together and ready to be deployed directly to regenerate foundational needs, things like land, law, education, and well-being. No extractive interest tapping into it, just pure community capital. Which brings us to Section 4, the allied coin engine. So, what powers the daily transactions? It's software called the Allied Coin Exchange, or ACE. Now, it is incredibly important to clarify what this is and what it isn't.
The Allied coin is an internal coordination mechanism. It's a digital liquidity engine designed to keep purchasing power locked safely within this private marketplace. It is absolutely not a speculative crypto asset meant to be day traded on public exchanges, not at all. It's strictly an internal tool for frictionless trade among members.
Here is how the one-to-one match works in reality. When you put your 35 fiat dollars into the system to build up those community capital trusts we just talked about, the system instantly unlocks exactly 35 digital Allied coins on your app. It operates on a completely private network and is designed to be as immediate and seamless as using Zelle or Venmo. Your fiat builds the trust, and your digital coins let you shop immediately. And if you're a vendor, say you're an organic farmer, a local maker, or a holistic healer, this engine is a massive advantage for you. Instead of typical marketplaces that extract, 15 to 30% of your margins, EdensBay offers discounted commission rates, especially if you accept Allied coin. Plus, you get elevated visibility among a completely values-aligned shopper base. And because it's an employee-owned community capital company, vendors actually benefit from shared ownership. It's a real game changer.
Okay, Section 5, Directing the Capital.
So how do members govern all these vast pools of capital they've built up? They do it through something called PEG, or Proposal Enactment Governance. It's a simple 5-step cycle. Imagine identifying a community need. Let's say a local organic farm in your town desperately needs some new equipment. You can use the PEG software to officially propose a solution. The collective membership then votes democratically on those proposals. The winning projects are capitalized with debt-free funds released directly from the mother trust. And finally, that newly thriving business accepts Allied coin, which circulates the value right back to the members. Let's synthesize this whole thing. Look at this circle of prosperity. You start the flow with your contribution. It splits into the stewards and mother trusts. The PEG voting cycle directs those funds straight to local businesses, and then Allied coin loops that value right back to you. The extractive loops are officially closed. Value is held in trust, deployed by the community, and circulated back to the community.
Finally, Section 6, the Call for Leaders. The founders are actually in a pre-launch phase right now, and they are actively seeking 100 to 150 community executive organizers, what they're calling CEOs. The goal here is for each of these leaders to invite 2,500 people to join their specific organization within EdensBay. Reaching that number is the key. It allows that organization to create its very own dedicated subtrust, governed entirely by its own members, to fund their specific regenerative passions. The best part, these leaders don't need to be famous politicians or billionaire influencers. The blueprint simply calls for individuals with real passion and integrity. People who take pride in personal accountability and are ready to step up to represent their specific regenerative fields. Whether that's bio-based building, organic farming, holistic health, you name it.
I want to leave you with this really powerful quote directly from the EdensBay source text. It says, "We, the people, become an economic power plant that has massive strength and capability to reverse harms of all kinds." I think that summarizes the ultimate goal of prosperism perfectly. By pooling our resources and closing that extractive loop, a community truly can become its own economic engine. So the question this leaves us with is this: if we literally possess the blueprint for this regenerative power plant today, are you ready to become the leadership that finally turns it on? Thanks so much for exploring this with me, and keep questioning how our world is built.